Greetings, I'm Sophis. Today I was gonna do a live stream kind of going into the Scorpion beta stuff, what I've seen from the patch so far, but instead I figured I'm gonna do a short recording, live recording, instead of a full edited video because it's subject to change and it's more of an observation and sort of a build I was speculating on rather than a proper full build that I'm confident in because I haven't properly tested it. This, as you can see, I've used console commands, to give myself resources just to see if something that seemed sound in theory worked in practice. So so basically, the thing is, now we have a new unit type which is Magic Fighter. And Magic Fighters are kind of different in how they engage with things because although they are a melee unit, now they sort of have interesting interactions with enchantments and all that because not before, for instance, the Mistling was a skirmisher and now it is a magic fighter. And there's a good handful. If you could check the patch notes, there's a good handful of them. I think all the wyverns now are magic fighters. I'm not sure if all the dragon. No, I think dragons, full dragons, are now mythic units. So wyverns are magic fighters. There's the Inferno pup, a couple spiders. There's the snow spirits, and it's a group that now interacts differently with enchantments. So I was talking with Bootman. For those of you who seen he's often a guest when I go and discuss updates and speculate on things. And he pointed out something of an interesting synergy because Reavers have. Let me check this. I don't think the ruler gets it, but um, Reavers get this focused aggression, and this is sort of their cultural power. And Bootmoon pointed out, oh, if depending on how the rules work, maybe this can apply on every melee attack from a magic fighter because melee attacks gain a 60% chance of inflicting marked. And it says ranged or magic attacks have a chance of dealing plus 10 damage per stack of marked on the target. So the theory was that if both these things could be true for a magic fighter, theoretically you would have a melee unit that kind of double dips on the benefits of it. And Bootman tested it, and from what he's told and from what I've seen, unfortunately it does not double stack, but I think it's fair because otherwise this would be fairly powerful as a combo. But it's still interesting because what magic fighters do get is the plus 10% damage per stack of mark on the target. So it's still worthwhile, and I was kind of playing around with a potential build to make use of it. From the list of all the new magic fighters so far that we have, I kind of chose the Mistling because I find them rather interesting as a unit due to the fact that not only are they tier 3, so it's a more reliable unit. Usually tier 3s can, if you invest properly in them, they can hold their own even later in the game. And the most noteworthy thing is most magic fighters have repeating attacks. And the Mistling doesn't. The Mistling has Misty Strike, which is a very specific, it's a single target thing that even moves it back. Well, why it matters, being single strike versus repeating attacks. In my perspective, I think if you're going to go with something that inflicts debuffs, and if you are to consider mobility, single strikes are a worthwhile thing. And since one aspect of Magic Fighters is that they kind of are glass cannons, well, then I think it's interesting to have something like this where you hit someone, then you teleport back. I think it makes for an interesting candidate compared to, say, a wyvern or a spider, at least on paper. So I was very interested in this also because the this unit type has some very interesting overlaps in enchantments. Similar to, say, how some skirmishers get, the benefits of both the ranged and the melee enchantments from, say, fiery arrows and the flaming blades and all that. Magic fighters get, at least from what I've seen, and I'm sure there's more than this, but from two specific tomes, they get both the enchantments. As you can see here, from Calamity, you get both the accursed armors and the accursed projectiles. And the interesting thing is that it applies to physical ranged and magic attacks. And since your melee attack is magic, it does get the benefit of applying Ghost Fire. So you get this benefit as a melee unit, and it's very, very handy. You also get Constricting Focus on your melee attack, so you can hold down an enemy with this. In theory, given how Mistlings work, you can run up to someone, you hit them, you constrict them, you apply a lot of debuffs, then you just hop back. That sounded very funny and maybe a little annoying for your enemy, which I think is very well in the nature of the Fate. But anyway, there's other reasons why this one was a very interesting subject and why I tried to put together this build. Another double tap that it has on tomes is from the Tome of Prophecies. You get the benefits of Fated Projectile, so you get plus 20% critical hit chance, which, it applies to anything. It not just, ranged attacks, you just get it. But you also get Prescient Circlets. So you can get Precognition. If you're caught in a bad position, you can still use this unit in a very tricky way. And the other thing about the Mistling is it keeps summoning up um, mist clouds, so it keeps giving itself buffs. And the other thing that also makes it a very, very interesting candidate is that it is a magic origin unit. Why does that matter? Well, here's the thing: ley line focus. You get it from being a magic fighter, so you get plus 30% damage. But since you are a magic origin unit, you can also benefit from cosmic overdrive. So by default, this unit gets a plus 50% to all its damage, and it is a single shot. As you can see, this is a tier 3 unit with a single shot attack that deals all of this, which, at least from my perspective, is very useful considering you also have a lot of benefits tied to it. And yeah, I mean, you can apply bleeding, you reflect non-physical damage. There's a lot of interesting things that come from this whole setup. And yeah, I'm very eager to show it off, field test and show off the theory behind this. I think the only other thing that I might want to point out is, oh yes, the rest of the team comp, the rest of the theory. So this contribution comes from Bootman because, as Bootman pointed out, the Blessed Soul is a very specific and interesting support unit for this particular setup because its melee strikes apply marked. And since we are playing with Reavers and engraving a focus, that's very good. It's a repeating attack, you apply Condemned, Mark. So it helps everything because Condemned helps your status stuff land better. It's overall very good for the sake of this. And also the other thing is the Oracle. The Oracle, which, early on, at least the idea would be you would go around with overseers, then over time you replace it with oracles. But it also applies marked, and it's a backliner, it's a support. You can get a lot of mileage having one behind the rest of your army and just, healing where needed because your army, on principle, they'll avoid a lot of stuff, but since you can't quite control Misty Strike where you'll end up, you can kind of get caught in a bad position, I'm sure. And so you can have this as line holders, and you might need healing. Well, so enough talk. I think I think I've rambled on quite a bit. I'm gonna show this off. This isn't even a fair fight, but I think the important thing is show off the inner workings of this army. So, yeah, let's get to it. Of course, I also have the home advantage because I'm fighting on Fey terrain, but we'll see. Okay, so the idea here is no, I can't. I could hit them with something, but I don't think it's quite worth it. No, I mean, I guess. Yeah, let's try this out. See how it pans out. Okay, so. Oh, see, very good. We got 2 stacks of strengthened, and let's see, are they constricted? No, but they did get ghost fire. Very good. Can we hit? Oh no, this is the blessed soul. Can we hit anybody else? Okay, we can hit these. Let's just check very quickly on our chances of applying things. Interesting. Okay, ghost fire. Yeah, 1 stack of ghost fire. Odd. I thought it would apply the sanguine focus, but apparently it isn't applying that. Or oh no, wait. I think I know what this is. These are phantasm warriors, so of course they probably have immunity to bleeding or something because they're ghosts. So yeah, let's try that on somebody else. Okay, let's just form up this wall and position the oracle nearby. Just provide a little assistance. No, I don't think I'll use precognition now. Can I hit anybody else with this one? I don't think I can. So I'm just gonna leave it here for now. And the Dragon Ruler, I'm gonna try to avoid, using it to kind of dominate the battle, since the important thing is showing off these units. So yeah, okay. Cognition and Condemned. Oh, 2 stacks of Marked, which is... I saw that when I was going over the Blessed Spirit and Blessed Soul, and I didn't point it out, but since its attack by default applies Marked, and then it gets focused aggression, we are talking about double dipping on it. And since it has repeating attacks, let me see how far we can go with that. Okay, 2 more stacks of Marked, and then 2 more stacks of Marked, but I don't think it can go any further than 5. That's the absolute limit. So At least we know, if you know, from a starting point, since it has three repeating attacks, it could on its own, if you had enough actions for it, just put a unit on maxed mark, which very very neat to consider. Oh, okay. Let's see. Hmm. I could. No, I want to test if I can apply bleeding to this. Oh, no, see, immune to bleeding. I picked a bad enemy to do this. Well, let's see what. Okay, Ghost Fire, remove Clinging Mist. Yeah, good, good, good. Yeah, it's very hit and run, and positioning wise, this isn't so bad, but you kind of have to consider that you're gonna teleport back in the general direction you hit this from. So, oh, see, wow, that's considerably a lot of. Okay, let's see what we can do. Did we apply Ghost Fire? Oh, it didn't apply bleeding at all. Hmm. Is okay. Well, as I did say, I would try to avoid it, but this is a perfectly lined Dragon Breath. It would be just stupid not to. Okay, here we go. And yeah, I mean, I think this is going pretty well. It applies Ghost Fire, and we haven't seen them trying to attack the Mistling directly to see how it would pan out. The defenses, the accursed armors and every. Oh, but the Blessed Soul does get that. And ooh, let's see. Yeah, okay, Mirror Veil working fine, and well, they are resisting quite a bit the accursed armor application, but it's doing pretty well. I mean, of course it would, because as you've seen, the balance of power in this fight is very uneven, but it's interesting how effective it is, because sometimes uh, the balance of power kind of lies, and from this, I mean, this is a tier 3 unit, and it's hitting like a hero basically. Granted, it's against a weaker unit, but still, this has a lot of potential. Just two attacks and you completely destroyed this enemy. Can we? Oh, very good. And it still has a ranged attack, so we can do this. And it's also a single shot, so it gets a lot of benefits. Also a magic attack. So yeah, I mean, I think it looks pretty good for on paper. What I'm not sure is the general progression to get to this point, because this I unlocked all the sort of later stuff just to test this out. Um, just before closing, I'm just gonna show the tomes that I used to get to this. So basically, started with Tentacle because, constricting focus, the whole idea of pinning down an enemy and making sure it doesn't move so you can hit it. It's one of the things that magic fighters do get. Usually, any of the enchantments that used to be mage and support exclusive also apply to magic fighters, so you can get these more unusual combinations, which I think is very interesting. Same reason why I've picked Tome of the Blood, right? Because here you have Sanguine Focus, so you would, I fought against enemies with immune to bleeding, but you would get bleeding, and it also bumps up the physical damage. And since we're dealing with single shots, that's going to be a higher amount. So anything that increases damage is good in general. Here I needed, because of the whole build, I needed the affinity, and also, as Bootman pointed out to me, the Blessed Soul is a good supporting unit. I don't think it you need it, necessarily for the whole build to be good. I think the really cool part are the mistlings, but having one or two, as we saw in that battle, is good for applying the mark debuff and also holding the line. But I think you can do fine without one. Next, of course, Feign Miss, because you do need the mistling. It's the whole point of this theoretical build. And the other important stuff, prophecies next, because as I said, you double tap, you get both fated projectiles and the prescient circlets to your magic fighters, very good. And the oracle is a great support unit, which also applies marked. So I think it leans into the whole Reaver core that they use, even if you don't use really Reaver units in the setup. Terramancy is another case of a focus ability, which also applies to magic fighters. Plus 30% damage isn't a joke. It's pretty good for the Mistling. And then amplification because of frenzying focus. Now, for the Mistling, this is a little less effective because when I considered amplification, I was thinking of magic fighters in general. And why is that? Because you get frenzy when you attack. And since the Mistling has a single shot, in an attack it will only benefit from one application of this. But, it's still two stacks from a single shot attack, but with a repeating attack, you would get, up to three. Okay, so yeah, the point is frenzying focus to add frenzy, which is very good for a melee unit. And Astral Mirror, I kind of could do without it, but you do need it for the affinity. Because in order to get to Archmage, you do need a little more Astral Affinity. And you do get Mirror Veil, which I think is fair enough. It's a good buff, good defensive buff for you. And you get, all the trickery from Tome of the Astral Mirror. So summon Astral Reflection. You could even go around with Mirror Mimics, imitating your Mistlings, which would make for a slightly stronger Mistling. But it's mostly for the affinity. Still, it's a very good tome. And I think the big tier 4 one is this because, getting both the defense benefit and the offense benefit of Calamity, not to mention it also applies to your melee attacks, is pretty crazy to consider. And aside from that, the big point is to cap off with Tome of the Archmage, because Cosmic Overdrive gives you the other plus 20% damage. So combine Terramancy with this, and you have a lot of damage on your Mistlings. As you saw, they were hitting for 60, 50 something damage, and they were hitting pretty hard, even heroes. Then you have to consider, Time Stop is also good because it applies marked on enemies in a 1 hex radius. You get stunned in case you want to capture someone with an Overseer and distracted. It's overall a very good debuff spell for everything we're going for here. So yeah, I think that's pretty much the core of the build. I mean, I still haven't properly tested it in a full campaign, but it sounds pretty good. And the other details, race wise, I kind of just try to consider it's only the Oracle that's going to really be a form unit for you. So you can kind of play fast and loose with this and not follow this, but I just considered, extra magic damage, better accuracy, and since it's a backliner, to make it harder to hit by ranged attacks. So you can have, the Mistlings or the Blessed Souls holding back the line, and the Oracle just chills in the back. But yeah, the other important thing is if you want to do what I just did this whole build, you do need a Materium Dragon because of the affinities. because this build was so all over the place that I kind of turned it into an Empire of the Cosmos build. So it needed everything in, to at least hit two affinity just so I could grab a lot of these tomes. And due to that, I needed the Material Dragon, and of course, I had to use the second society trait to be a nature society trait. I picked talented collectors, but if you look here at the whole affinity thing, I might recommend that instead of this, you go for something like one of the vision traits that instead of giving you one nature affinity, it gives you two, because then you would hit the next tier of Empire of the Cosmos and get, you know, no limitations. Then you could even skip the Mirror Tome, and just go straight for Archmage. I think that might be a smoother experience if you want to try that out. Uh, Leader wise, aside from having to be a Materium Dragon, I just picked the Spellblade because that's just the default good, strong class and ruler combo. I think it will help you out quite a bit in the early game because Mistlings will take a little while to, show up. So, in the meantime, having a dragon assist you while you're still using the Reaver units before you can start getting all this stuff, I think it's good. So, I'm still looking around into the whole update. The update they did to mobility, to defense, to how everything works, and I'm still thinking of other possible things to theory craft on, but this one was something that came up that seemed interesting enough to make a topic, and rather than just play the beta, I thought, okay, I'll make a still rather long but more focused video just talking about this whole thing, this whole exploration of the new unit type. So yeah, that's pretty much what I have for you today. So I hope you're all having a good day and see you in the next one.